Could Alberta and Saskatchewan actually break away from Canada and become U.S. states? Sounds crazy, right? But let's break it down. Because if you look at the economics, the politics, and even historical precedent, this might not be as far-fetched as you think. Here's the thing. Trump has already floated the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state. He said it in private meetings, he's hinted at it in speeches, and he's made it clear that Canada's economy, especially its energy sector, should be more integrated with the U.S. During conversations with Trudeau, Trump laughingly joked, saying Canada should just join the U.S. instead of dealing with constant trade disputes. Now, in 2025, he's not joking. Trump has openly called for 25% tariffs on Canadian imports to force economic realignment. The goal? Push Canada into deeper economic dependence on the U.S. and see which provinces might be willing to make a deal. The reaction? Ottawa panicked. Trudeau immediately dismissed the idea, calling it insane. The Conservative leader, who is no fan of Trudeau, also rejected it. And Canadians? They're not exactly lining up to apply for U.S. citizenship. But there is a part that nobody wants to talk about. Trump wasn't thinking about the entire country. He's thinking about the parts of Canada that actually make sense. Why Alberta and Saskatchewan? Let's be real. Alberta and Saskatchewan are already more connected to the U.S. than to the rest of Canada. Alberta is Canada's Texas. Rich in oil and gas, fiercely independent, and constantly at war with Ottawa over energy policies. Saskatchewan, one of the world's top agricultural powerhouses. It exports wheat, potash, and uranium, most of it straight to the U.S. Their economies don't just rely on American markets, they depend on them. And yet, what does Canada do? It sabotages them. Taxes, regulation. Ottawa killed the Keystone XL pipeline, one of Alberta's biggest economic lifelines. Carbon taxes and environmental regulations are crushing farmers and oil producers. Federal equalization payments take money from Alberta and Saskatchewan to prop up provinces like Quebec and Maritimes, who, by the way, don't contribute nearly as much to the economy. Does that sound like a country working together? Alberta and Saskatchewan, maybe they've had enough. Western alienation isn't new. For decades, these provinces have felt ignored, overtaxed, underrepresented. But now, the frustration is boiling over. Could they actually succeed? Short answer, yes. Canada has something called the Clarity Act, which lays out how a province could legally separate from the country. It wouldn't be easy, but a clear majority vote in a referendum would start the process. Quebec has actually tried this process twice. If Alberta and Saskatchewan held a referendum and won, they could declare independence. And then, joining the U.S. would actually be the easy part. The U.S. Constitution doesn't ban the admission of new states. In fact, it's much easier to add a state than it is to amend the Constitution. The U.S. has done this before. Texas was an independent republic before joining. Congress would just need to approve it. Would that happen? Well, that depends on who's in charge. A Trump-led White House? Maybe. A Democrat-led Washington? Much less likely. But let's be real. Alberta and Saskatchewan bring something that America actually wants. Think about what Alberta and Saskatchewan add to the U.S. Energy dominance. Alberta alone has the third largest oil reserves in the world, behind Venezuela and Saudi Arabia. Add that to the American oil production, the U.S. becomes even more energy independent. Food security, Saskatchewan is one of the world's top grain producers. With global food supply chains in turmoil, having a secure food source inside American borders is a game changer. These provinces provide direct access to the Arctic, increasing American influence in the region, something Washington is already prioritizing against Russia and China. But would America want the rest of Canada? Probably not. Look, America isn't looking to absorb an entire country with an aging population, massive social programs, and deep political divisions. The U.S. has plenty of problems of its own. Quebec, too independent, too culturally different, and too socialist for American politics. Ontario, a financial powerhouse, yes, but one that leans heavily left. Adding it would shift U.S. politics dramatically. The Maritimes, aging population with heavy reliance on federal aid. America doesn't need more dependence. If anything, the U.S. would take Alberta and Saskatchewan and leave the rest of Canada to fend for itself. And here's where things get really interesting. If Alberta and Saskatchewan leave, Canada as we know it falls apart. The federal budget collapses. Ottawa relies heavily on tax revenue from Alberta. Quebec might demand independence. It's tried before, and without Alberta's money, it might succeed this time. British Columbia, it's more aligned with the Pacific Northwest than with the rest of Canada. It could drift toward independence or deeper U.S. ties. This isn't just about Alberta and Saskatchewan, it's about the survival of Canada as a unified country. So what's stopping this from happening? For now, it's political inertia. Breaking away from Canada is a huge step, and most people, they're not ready for that. But let's be real, if the economic pain keeps getting worse, that could change fast. And with Trump or a similar leader pushing America toward economic nationalism, the door isn't closed. I know, this is mostly a crazy thought, something that's not going to happen and definitely not going to happen tomorrow, but the seeds are there. Canada's internal divisions are growing, America is shifting its economic priorities, and the global order is changing fast. So what do you think? Should America welcome Alberta and Saskatchewan, or is this all just a pipe dream? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The world is changing fast, and we'll be here to break it down for you. This is Frank with America's Geopolitics. See you next time.